Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last episode of the season of Wrestling Weekend Recap, where we bring to you the good, the bad, and the latest inside news regarding to what took place this week with Monday Night Raw, NXT, AEW Dynamite, Impact Wrestling, Friday Night SmackDown, and of course, AEW Rampage. Of course, to make it somewhat exciting this week, we decided to leave the chat open if anyone wants to stick the piece of what you guys thought of the draft, maybe who you thought was going to get drafted, who you think is going to get drafted, if there's going to be any last minute switches. That's upon you guys. Feel free to chat on the side with us on top chat, but if not, it's cool. So nonetheless, um, we're going to make it somewhat exciting for this episode. And before we begin, I want to state our infamous disclaimer, which is that everything that we say and state on this program is strictly our opinion, and it does not necessarily reflect the views of the platform that we're on or the wrestling companies that we talk about. And now, don't have a cow, man. Of course, another incredible week in wrestling / sports entertainment. The draft began last night on SmackDown, of course. Dynamite and Rampage are still cooking. Now we're just waiting for next week's Raw for it to be live and to finish off the draft, which we heard stories that, of course, it wasn't organized. Also, the fact that this was just spur of the moment type of stuff and other things like that. So I guess they just run with it as it goes. But even though we kind of already, had an idea that no matter what, the respective network execs are willing to keep their champions, their top champions, while other champions obviously are getting drafted, but maybe there could be some switch of momentum. Like, for example, Charlotte got traded to SmackDown. She's still the Raw Women's Champion. That could be switched maybe next Monday night. Maybe she goes back to Raw. Or maybe Becky Lynch is going to make the move. But the thing of it is, the title switches haven't been made since then. Like last year's draft where there were the tag team champions from both respective brands. The one on SmackDown went to Raw. The one on Raw went to SmackDown, but they traded belts at that point. Do you recall who were the champions back then? Was it the New Day?
I think yeah,
and the Street Profits.
and the Street Profits, yes.
So they made the trade of their respective brand titles, and they were still champions nonetheless because they haven't been defeated or anything like that. They were still champions by the time they got selected to go to different brands. So we will get into SmackDown in just a little bit, but right now we're definitely going to address our portion of inside news for today. Even though during the week, obviously, we heard that Tony Khan is in full control of AEW, and the elite, the members of the elite, the EVPs, if I remember correctly, they're in control, but they don't have creative control of their characters and what happens in the ring, or I guess business for that matter. We know that Tony Khan is in control of all the TV shows, Rampage, the Two Darks, Dark Elevation, and as well Dynamite. And even Cody was going on under major internet backlash when it comes to squashing talent that he brings into AEW. We're going to get into that story in just a little bit too. But first, the story that we're going to get into is called Girls Like Him a Lot. So obviously this is reference from sportskeeda.com, and the story goes that Conan recently provided an interesting revelation about Jungle Boy's backstage image in AEW. While he spoke on K-Dog's podcast called Keeping It 100, the WCW legend said that Jungle Boy has a charming persona backstage, and the women's locker room liked him as he eventually started dating Anna Jay, member of the Dark Order, and also just made her return not that long ago. Conan added that even though the 24-year-old star needs to work on his promos, people still love his quiet charisma similar to Orange Cassidy. Conan stated, and I quote, "I think the thing with him is that girls like him a lot. Even when I was backstage," and I guess this was around the time where K-Dog was with Dynamite. I guess this was months ago. They were telling me that like all the girls liked him. And then he ends up with Anna Jay, like the hottest chick in the promotion. So there's that. And I think that to that nerd base, he's got like a quiet charisma that they like him. That's all there is to it. And yeah, he is not charismatic. And yeah, he does need work on his promos, but people like him as he is. So it's like Orange Cassidy. People dig. That fan base digs Orange Cassidy. End quote. And of course, they have posted recently a picture from Anna Jay's Instagram where they're staring into each other's eyes. This is some sort of a scene at nighttime. I think they just look cute together, to be honest. I mean, why not? I mean, he is the son of the late great Luke Perry. There's some mystique about him. But his performance on the ring, that's a whole other story. That's another level, if you know what I mean. Continuing with the story, Jungle Boy became one of AEW's top rising stars during the pandemic. Despite pro wrestling veterans criticizing him for not being a promo guy, the Jurassic Express member has incredibly enhanced his in-ring technique. Jungle Boy may not have a popular catchphrase or intense gimmick, but he certainly appeals to a relatively young pro wrestling audience. And that is true. Very true. And that cannot be disputed whatsoever. And let's not forget that, of course, this Wednesday he will be part of an 8-man tag match. His partners will be Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. They will take on members of the Elite, Omega, the Young Bucks, and Adam Cole. That will be this Wednesday on Dynamite, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, only on TNT, as well as Sammy Guevara. Now, this is quite a tipper here, and this one I did not expect to hear, but I should have expected it. While we were watching Roads to the Top, the new series that just got started on TNT right after Dynamite, we had a little Easter egg, if you will, because they still had cameras backstage. So once they cut to a commercial break, immediately they broke into a backstage scene where it involved Tony Schiavone, Sammy Guevara, and some other guys in the back. And it turns out he wanted to defend the title for Dynamite, and he threw out Bobby Fish's name in the hat. So I'm assuming Bobby Fish could be the next guy to come into AEW beginning this Wednesday. And they made it official. So Sammy Guevara, Bobby Fish, the open challenge for the television title will also take place this Wednesday on Dynamite. Also, Hikaru Shida will go on one-on-one with Serena Deeb. They'll definitely clash it up again. And I believe this is for the number one contendership. for the women's championship.
I don't really know. Possibly.
I guess. Well, bottom line is they got a match. They got a match and it's made official. So, nonetheless, whether it involves the contendership or not, that one is going to be another good one in the record books. So, uh, this is one episode that shouldn't be missed whatsoever. So, this Wednesday, those three matches on the card will take place this Wednesday on TNT for sure. And also on other news, the second story that we want to cover is starting with the title, That's the Job, though. And of course, it involves Cody being criticized by his fans for burying talent in All Elite Wrestling. And this is also from sportskeeda.com. That, of course, broke out this morning on the net. So it states, Cody Rhodes recently opened up about the criticisms leveled against him for burying youngsters in AEW. Since the beginning of his All Elite Wrestling tenure, Cody has wrestled numerous youngsters in the company, especially during his first TNT Championship reign. Though many think a performer of his stature can elevate a performer just by virtue of wrestling them, others feel he's responsible for burying them. And of course, Cody Rhodes stated that he doesn't understand the online backlash he faces. He explained that he had spent the last few years introducing new talent to AEW and even wrestled a rookie in Darby Allin at a pay-per-view. He added that introducing new talent to the world is a part of his job that he loves. Furthermore, Cody applauded Allin and Ricky Starks, two of the many youngsters he helped establish, for their success in Tony Khan's promotion. Cody stated, and I quote, "There's this online outlook on me that suggests that all I do is bury talent. Gosh, I feel like I spent 3 years introducing talent and I wrestled a pay-per-view against an absolute rookie. That's the job, though. I love that part. Darby is somebody who's just blowing everyone away. I'm glad people get to see that side of Ricky, and I think he will be too, because Ricky presents himself as so confident and suave. But you can't forget that Ricky is new into our industry. He showed up for the TNT Open Challenge. He didn't win the match, but he won himself a job. And now, TV wrestling is far different than independent wrestling. And seeing Ricky navigate that space and emerge on such a level that he has, I'm very proud of both those guys, Darby and Ricky." Adding to the story that also Cody put over Malachi Black in AEW just recently. The American Nightmare's most recent feud in AEW was against former NXT champion Aleister Black, now known as Malachi Black. The two wrestled twice in the company, with Black coming on top on both occasions. The rivalry was also notable from the crowd turning on Cody, especially at Grand Slam, which was not that long ago, where the former TNT champion was booed loudly. AEW too acknowledged this and had laid down the seeds for his heel turn on this week's episode of Dynamite, which just took place this past Wednesday. So, do you think Cody Rhodes has buried talent in AEW? Do you want him to embrace his darker side going forward in the company? I think we can answer a little bit of that. My opinion, I don't think he buried anybody. I think that Cody wrestling with guys that he feels that can be the next stars in the company has been a plus. Look where Darby Allin is at this point. Ever since, even though Ricky Starks never wrestled Cody, look where he is at this point. Same thing with Malachi Black. I mean, it speaks of the people that actually are good with Cody wrestling with him in the ring. And we haven't seen Cody wrestle as of late because obviously he's got commitments. He's got obligations. He's got this reality series that just started, that has started already. Filming, and now we're seeing it for the first time ever on network television. Of course, he's doing the big show on TBS, and God knows what other commitments Cody's got going on. But he is dealing with business, back and forth, and we've seen that obviously he's dealing with a large task, but it's not just him. His wife Brandy's doing the same thing, and with the other members of the elite and Tony Khan, they're running a really tight knit company. So hats off to all of them for taking such a major responsibility for making all of this work. But there's going to come a time where they're going to have to start thinking about when their careers are going to be over. How the heck are they going to run AEW um, as they decide to hang up the boots? When is going to be the year for them to actually, hang them up either all together or one by one? There's got to be a plan where they're going to have to start looking at the longevity of the company and who is going to be their future stars as the years and the time flies by when it comes to the official stamp of approval that all elite wrestling is already here to stay.
One thing I can attest to is that right now, Cody and Brandy are pretty much burying themselves into AEW, making sure that it stands on for years to come. And I just want to point out that even I believe that the comments and the backlash that Cody is receiving is also nothing more than a total misconception. Because I just want to point out, when it comes to comparison and contrast, let's talk about AEW and WWE per se, because pretty much what we look at WWE, I mean, it's ludicrous to say that Cody is out on blatantly burying talent on television when that's pretty much not the case. It's like you could say he gives them matches, but he is pretty much testing them to see if they have the potential to be on board the team and could possibly flourish as superstars, compared to what goes on in WWE, compared to what goes on in WWE, where pretty much say you're pretty much giving a chance, but evidently are the higher ups at WWE, mainly Vince McMahon, is the one who's not impressed with the talent whatsoever, and they pretty much say they don't fit my image whatsoever, and that is why I don't want to keep them. Pretty much in AEW, when you got Cody and Tony Khan and whoever else is in that boardroom, they pretty much say, let's talk about who can we say, let's give a game, let's bet on this guy, let's bet on this woman, let's bet on this tag team. They got to find a way to put talent in useful positions, that way they can flourish and someone make a name for themselves. And it's not a very easy thing. I mean, sometimes when it comes to a promoter or the centerpiece of a company, they pretty much say they're pretty much gonna say, hey, I don't see potential. This guy or this person's not gonna belong here. Then they pretty much say, for instance, a person that's brilliant. But there are others who say, let's give him a chance. And I just want to point out by saying, yeah, that the treatment that Cody is getting for saying that he's bringing talent, it's just ludicrous. He's helping elevate that talent. He's saying, if there's something about you that could potentially be for you to become potential superstars in the industry, I'm willing to vote for you. Compared to WWE, where they pretty much say, okay, I'll give you a shot, but within a matter of time, you're gonna get shot down, and that's pretty much not right. So my point is that that pretty much this treatment that Cody Rhodes has been getting, absolutely ludicrous.
What about him embracing his dark side? Do you think that should be the safest move for Cody to go at this point? Because we're seeing the cracks. Arn Anderson put in a powerful promo, which the man still goes by. He goes by that one line. And if you guys notice that I have the proof in the pudding on one of the footages that I've uploaded years ago when it comes to the promos and the interviews of the Four Horsemen. Arn Anderson is a very good example of how the man articulates how he can um, give an analogy that can happen to any given person in an everyday scene when it comes to someone's life, if I have put that correctly.
Yes.
Um, Sorry to interrupt, but like, yeah, the words that he stated when we first heard him, it's like, damn, it is like, and it's the time of now. We're not talking about 70s and 80s, because they had, you know, things and events that have gone at that time, but this is the time of now, and Arn is in the times of now, even though the man is old and no longer wrestles. But damn it, Arn is a genius when it comes to how he articulates stuff and can be useful for a promo. And once he steps inside of the wrestling ring.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing about the enforcer. He knows how to speak his mind. And to respond to your question, I mean Cody knows that this is a cutthroat industry. Pretty much to answer that is like he pretty much knows that you had that it would be nice to look out for us, but at the same time he has to look out for his best interest because he has a child. He pretty much had to say I'm not gonna look back and just take a back seat. He that's not the American nightmare that people chose to embrace. Like when we talk about the American nightmare 3 years ago, who pretty much beat Nick Aldis with the NWA champion. Well, not like you, but we're ready to embrace, and they embrace that American nightmare. So pretty much, Cody has to look back at himself, say he has to channel that spirit to say, I gotta be back to American that American nightmare. Be the one that be the person that everybody expects me to be, and just say like to say the hell with to hell with others. I gotta find a way to get back on the horse, and you pretty much say I could care less the about who I do with the company. It's all pretty much for now. This is about me. This is about my my future. This is about my family's future, and pretty much is what he should fixate right now after this experience and after these two losses from Malachi Black. He should just say, I gotta channel my spirit. I gotta be the American nightmare again. I gotta find a way to get back on the horse and be the and to be the Cody that pretty much audience embraced them, that I also embraced as well, because even though he was very condescending and somewhat of an asshole, but he was good at it. So frankly, yeah, Cody should channel that spirit again.
I love Cody. Doesn't matter whether he's the heel or he is the babyface. With the way things are leaning right now, it looks like he could turn heel. And you know what? I'm all for it. If that's the direction he wants to go, I am all for it. I really do, because he's giving the fans what they want. And if they want to boo him, hiss him, swear at him, flip him off, hey, go ahead. I'm sure Cody will take it all in because he's done it before. Doesn't matter what role. In WWE, he's done it before. In Japan, he's done it before. It will be no different if this happens in AEW. It will be no different because, God, Cody is a damn professional. He will absorb everything that he can take. And I got a feeling that he is going to take this heelism. He's going to embrace it, and he is gonna give fans moments that they wish that they would have never seen it out of Cody. And I'm pretty sure he's gonna pack some wallops and he's gonna let the fans have it. And it'll be a matter of time, maybe even sooner. So we gotta stay glued to AEW nonetheless to see um, to know when the heck that moment is gonna happen, because it'll happen sooner than later. It's just a matter of giving Cody those pushes, those really hard pushes, and he will give us this new uh, this new heelism of Cody. That we can expect for sure. That I can expect for sure. I'm just waiting for him to arrive. Definitely, I'm just waiting for him to arrive. That's the only thing. So while we're talking about AEW, let's just jump into the reviews and talk about AEW Dynamite. And it was another interesting episode, big time, because we've seen um, a lot from that episode and the episode of Rampage. Of course, all of that in the hometown of the late great uh, Jonathan Huber, uh, better known to the fandom as Brody Lee. And it was a hell of a tribute. I love the way they opened the show. Um, Even though I'm pretty sure once December hits, there's going to be another tribute for him this year because it's got to happen. Despite that, of course, we hit the hometown, or they hit the hometown of Brody Lee first. And of course, with having -1 there and his wife Amanda there, and they were totally accessible to show up for the show and to be involved the way they have. Um, it was easy pickings for them, and that's how you can make that moment even better by having them two involved in such a magical night that happened for AEW as a whole, for their roster and for their fans, to say the least. Um, we might as well talk about the Dark Order match. How we were seeing Hollywood against Wolfpack. Pretty much Evil Uno and his select few against against um, who's on the opposite side that has been going against Evil Uno. Um, the one that was partnered up with uh, 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 John Silver.
Alex Reynolds.
Alex Reynolds, because he's the one who has been getting vocal on Evil Uno. Oh, that now you're showing leadership, like you think you're good enough to lead this group, and da da da. So, yeah, Alex Reynolds and his bunch. Obviously, they were going at each other once again, and it was done for that night, I assume, because I don't think they're fully together. Like I said, it's going to take one person to show up and lead the Dark Order where they need to go. But the fact that Amanda was there, she was just there to keep it close and to keep the enemy, so to speak, even though it's just a matter of the difference of opinion, nonetheless. So Amanda was there. She had enough. -1 was there, and you barely even acknowledge that he threw the towels at these bozos because they were getting way off hand, and here they are wanting to kill each other. And it took for the women to get these boys together. It's like, hey, where are you at? Do you realize where you're at? Do you realize where you're at right now? Do you realize that I'm here? And it's like, yeah, let's for one night, let's just do this together. So we got to see if this was really a one night thing, or are they actually back on the same page? Nonetheless, um, the match that the Dark Order was involved, it was them and Orange Cassidy against HFO.
Yes.
And to their credit, the Dark Order held it together and they won their match, and that's how that should be from that moment forward. But obviously, I'm still not convinced that the Dark Order is still all good and well. So we're gonna have to see coming up on Dynamite if they are as one, or if they just did it for the sake of Amanda being there, and to pay homage to Brody Lee, their former leader. Moving on, that was one of the touching moments. Of course, um, we witnessed the tag match between TJ as they call themselves. They were going against the Bunny and Penelope Ford. Um, Obviously, a lot of fans didn't, you know, credit this one the way it should have been deserved, but I believe these women, they give it their all just so that they can have, a little bit of, you know, extra minutes to actually have this match as believable as they can because they were working their tails off, all four of them. And I believe that they should have got a little bit more recognition that they have. But nonetheless, in their first victory together officially as a tandem, TJ won their match against the Bunny and Penelope Ford. But it will not be the last because obviously Matt Hardy is in a vengeful mood that night, and he didn't want any losses with any members of the HFO. Um, Also, Adam Cole and Jungle Boy. My goodness, it was a spectacular match. Adam Cole wanted to get it on with Jungle Boy first as his first, or one of the guys that he wanted to work with, and it paid off. It really paid off because Adam Cole coming hot from NXT, and Jungle Boy was just improving himself along the way, and these two guys really hit it out of the park, and it was just something awesome that you never thought would ever happen. And these guys made wrestling dreams come true that night. So it was a valiant effort from both guys. It was a spectacular match. Hats off to both of them. But Adam Cole uh, did it here,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And there will be another opportunity for Jungle Boy. Don't get me wrong. I really want to see this guy have one over on Adam Cole. It'll be just a matter of time. Um, Also, the match between let me get it together here. Well, before I get to that match, the one promo that really resonated because we were going back and homecoming is drawing near. MJF came out and did a fantastic promo stating about pillarship, and when it comes to the future, the pillars of now and that are the future for AEW. He was right on the button because yes, MJF was the first man on the card against um, um, I forgot who it was, somebody from Ring of Honor, but he was the first match booked on the card for All In, and I'm talking about pre AEW. But yeah, MJF, he gave everybody the treat of the future of what the future was going to behold for that for AEW coming into its own as they were going to unleash into the world that another wrestling company was coming to, and MJF was going to be the ultimate heel of them all. And my God, he is at this point right now because he is earning instant heat. He's been earning instant heat. He still wants to be the heater to bring all of that momentum to him because he's on fire, like literally. And he called out Darby Allin. And as more personal MJF gets, he thinks he's got the upper hand, but unfortunately, Darby Allin checkmated him. And he told him, it's like, is that all you got? It's like, bring some more, because no matter what you do to me, it's not going to bring me down. And obviously, he talked trash about his uncle, that he was a bitter drunk, and all of that, and that he died, and that MJF stated that it shouldn't have been his uncle that should have died. It should have been Darby Allin. I'm like, wow, they're really getting serious here. And I like the story from where it was going, but obviously that wasn't going to break Darby Allin. That just wasn't going to break him. Even he can go to the be going beyond physicality, and he'll still find a way to get back up. If we don't get back on that day, there's always tomorrow. So that's a guarantee, for Darby Allin that, if he's already down on his luck and still can crawl, Believe me, once tomorrow comes, he'll back in full force. That's a given for sure. Um, of course, like what we talked about. Cody had his match and what happened afterwards. You know what? Let's get into this audio clip because I still can't believe what I heard from Arn's mouth, man. And you gotta like how we stated that you gotta attest to how good Arn is when he articulates facts, when he gives you an everyday view of what can happen in someone's everyday life. It's like shit, man. That's one hell of an analogy. And he had his singles match against Dante Martin. And Dante Martin lately, he's been red hot as a singles competitor. I'm all for this kid to be a successful superstar. No, actually, I take that back. Well, I don't know why the hell my mind is sleeping. It was a tag match. It was Cody and um, Big Shotty going up against Dante Martin and Matt Sydal. And of course, ever since the fact that Cody has lost twice to Malachi Black in the story, yeah, we all know that he's helping Malachi Black, get to superstardom. But obviously, that supposedly, if I remember correctly, with the promo that Malachi Black uh, aired on Rampage, supposedly that black mist that he sprayed on him, supposedly that changes. That makes a person change. I guess power of the liquid. There's some sort of a substance. There's got to be some type of ingredient or something in that liquid that obviously you feel like some sort of a sensation where it could change you somewhat, and you start to begin showing the world that you're not the same person anymore, that you're changing. But nonetheless, of course, we're seeing that it was Big Shotty that got the pin and the win for the team, and all of a sudden, by the way Cody was looking, it's like, yeah, he feels like if he's got the edge, if he's getting it back, but in reality, he doesn't. Okay, let's get in this right here. Let's listen in.
I know this audience waited a long time for this show. We don't need to wait. Why don't we get him out here right now? Why doesn't Malachi Black come out here right now?
He's like, really, dude?
Stop talking. Stop talking. July the 7th, Malachi Black came into our life. He has systematically destroyed every one of us. He used me to get to you, but it's your fight. The first time he totally destroyed you, you start taking your boot off. What's that all about? We didn't talk about that. You come back for number 2. I got this. You finally get him hurt. What do? You roll out of the ring to see about me. To hell with me. It's not about me. You should have finished that fight. Here's some differences, though, Cody, that's going to prevent you from going 1 inch any further. Malachi Black is an assassin. He's a predator. He will do anything in the world to win a match and destroy the man that he's in there with. Ask Lee. Ask Brock. And just the fact is, I would step in and take the fight, but I'm just too damn old. But I'll tell you what, there's 2 big differences between you and I, Cody. You pull up to a red light, a man jerks your door open, says, out of the car, I'm taking your car. You say, okay, take it. Just don't hurt me. You know what I do? I pull out the Glock, put it on his forehead, and spill his brains all over the concrete. I'm Arn Anderson, and all that implies And I'll be damned if I'm going to coach a loser. Come on with me, Lee. At least you listen to me. Wow. High drama here, fellas.
That hurt. That really did hurt. But I mean, Arn has a way with words. He knows how to express it, whether it be with such delicacy or he just goes be blunt and right to the point. You know, and yeah, he put in a very good example about how you stop at a red light and someone comes up to you with a gun and he says, "Get out of the car." And you're like, okay, take the car, just don't hurt me. That would be if you didn't have a weapon and you know that you don't want to risk your life or you're in fear of your life. You just don't want nothing to happen to you. And it's not worth dying for a car. But if you're Arn Anderson and you are the tough son of a bitch that you are, and if you got to conceal and carry, that's the thing, you got to conceal and carry, then, and only then, you can put the Glock in the back of his head and without thinking, just shoot the damn bastard. And that's it. But nonetheless, the analogy is the analogy, and Arn just has a way with words. And that's what makes him one of the smartest men that this business has ever seen, of over, what in this case, 30, 40 years? That's a long time, man. That's a long time. Maybe even longer. Because NWA just celebrated their anniversary not that long ago for what, 50 years?
Yeah, 70 years.
70 years? Jeez, man, imagine that. And they're still around to tell stories, of such such deepness. And I'm pretty sure Arn is a huge factor of him going to AEW. He's a huge factor in how having him there was so damn useful, and especially for that promo there, it was powerful. It was incredibly powerful. Moving on. The main event of that Dynamite was obviously the TNT title, and that involved Miro having to defend it against Sammy Guevara. And obviously, just by a little bit of sensation, I had the feeling that, the title was going to change after months of Miro having to defend it, having to cheat, and having to, have it in his possession and calling himself the Redeemer and God's favorite wrestler and all that other bunk. I mean, Miro believes it because, hey, he has to. Nonetheless, but I mean, I believe it too. But still, those titles, the Redeemer and God's favorite wrestler, is like, what God do you pray to say that you're, some favorite wrestler of the Almighty gods, But nonetheless, as tough as we know Miro can be, Sammy Guevara, he brought everything. I mean, everything that he had, man. There were some incredible spots, and Sammy was the type that, he would not stop for all intents and purposes. He did not stop. He just kept on going. And shoot, he finally conquered the Redeemer and became TNT champion. And all of that in tribute to Brody Lee as well. So obviously that's how they closed out Dynamite. But nonetheless, it was an incredible moment that they had for sure. So then we move on to Rampage also. An incredible opening with Bryan Danielson and Nick Jackson. My God, it was a killer match. There is no bits of shades of Daniel Bryan into the American Dragon. No, this is a whole new sort of view. I understand that there were some shades of Bryan Danielson from Ring of Honor that were shown in this match, and that we kind of, we kind of missed out. But they were actually on point on the fact, like for example, supposedly he could have went to a 5 count, but didn't. He could have done it anyway. That could have kind of percepted even deeper in character, but nonetheless, it just got physical. It got super physical with them too. Um, both him and Nick should be credited. Nick, obviously, he doesn't get the credit for being, a singles wrestler when he's an expert in tag team wrestling, but he's had singles matches before. Maybe not a lot or as often as any other singles competitor has, but he is a hell of a wrestler. Him and Matt. If they do it singularly, but together they're just a complete package. They're a hot item. Uh, Nick though he gave everything to Brian Danielson, and Brian Danielson had a response, and he responded, and boy did he responded physically. Like you can see how their chest were just so bruised up, so red, and it's like, my God, we're seeing freaking art here. And I can understand now why Vince McMahon was so protective of Brian back when he was with WWE. He did not want him to go that route of physicality because you can never know what can happen to the man. And I get that. But you can tell that Brian wasn't in his comfort zone anymore because, he missed the element of professional wrestling where he knows that he can shine, where he knows that he can take it to such a limit. And that's what that's why he's in AEW for, to realize dream matches, but also he wants to go to beyond the limits of physicality to see what he can take and what he cannot take. You know, Contenders strike on each other. Nonetheless, I love the match. It was incredible. And we're just seeing Brian Danielson shine even more. And I wonder who is going to be his next elite opponent. Since now he's already been through Omega and he's already been through Nick Jackson. Even though at the very end of it all, the elite came out and beat him up, but of course he had his backup, Cage, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy. They came out and got at the elite yet again. It was awesome. It was an incredible match, nonetheless. The triple threat three-way dance, the women's match, Jade Cargill, Nyla Rose, and Thunder Rosa. It was an incredible element, and of course, that's them off from what happened several weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, from what we saw in one of those backstage interviews that just went chaotic to such a degree. They were just nailing Thunder Rosa, but of course, they just, Nyla Rose and Jade, just stared at each other. For me, it was kind of hard to choose who was going to win that match, but I knew it was going to be either between Thunder Rosa or Jade Cargill, my bitch. But they took it to each other as far as they could. Obviously there were two hard elements in Jade and Rose, but Thunder Rosa, she's that firecracker that will not get denied. She won't be denied, and she's the one who's bringing everything that she's got, and she lets them to have it. Like if she's got a set of firecrackers ready to blow up in the face, it's like pow pow and pow pow, and that's how she keeps going. And at the end of it all, Jade Cargill actually she won the match, which is cool, because like I said, it was for me. It was either Thunder Rosa or it was going to be Jade Cargill, but I knew Nyla Rose was not going to win that match, not at all. The hair versus hair match, that was really one that I was not anticipating to see. To be honest, that match should have been second, and the triple threat women's match should have been the main event, or if not, have have Danielson and Jackson be the main event, and that way the triple threat women's match should have been second anyway, because no one was really into this match. I mean, what's we all knew that Cassidy was not going to get his hair shaved, and they're only just going to take some trim off of Jack Evans, not to just the guy in his looks or anything, because he's an incredible he's a very incredible athlete. He rocks along with Angelico for them to be uh, the tag team that they are, TH2. They're just an incredible, phenomenal tag team under the Matt Hardy brand and the HFO. But there's nothing spectacular about Jack Evans's look. I mean, we're gonna see the finished product once Dynamite comes, so that's gonna be a treat nonetheless. Like we stated, for Dynamite, we got those 3 matches on the card, the 8-man tag, involving Danielson, Cage, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus against members of the Elite, Omega, the Young Bucks, and Adam Cole. Also, Hikaru Shida will go one-on-one with Serena Deeb, and the TNT title will be defended as the new champion. Sammy Guevara will take on the arrival of Bobby Fish. That's going to be a hell of a treat. So that will happen this upcoming Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. That will be airing on TNT. So now we move on. With Impact Wrestling, there's some good matches going on. There were some good fights. Of course, we'll recap. Like Rhino was still in the middle of a hard decision whether to stay or not stay with Violent by Design, despite that he has been on a terrible losing streak with the group, and that shouldn't be happening to a man like Rhino. But there had to be a weak link in the group, and unfortunately that was him, which in a way didn't make any sense because we all know how Rhino is extremely barbaric and physical in that ring, and that's the way he has been for so long. And I mean so long, man. For as far as we can remember, back to like in the old school ECW. Also, tensions mound, and especially I love the segment. When it came to the Virtuoso Deonna Purrazzo and Mickey James. I just love that battle. That happened, I guess, in Mickey James's property. Don't know exactly where. It might look like Tennessee, but that could be just about anywhere on the Outlands. Going hardcore country on each other. It was a hell of a battle, but see, that element was only just a preview of what we can see for Bound for Glory once these two men get it on for the Knockouts title. So just seeing that makes me excited for wanting to see who's really got it. Does the Virtuoso have a chance against the future Hall of Famer Mickey James? Or Mickey James makes a comeback to Impact Wrestling and becomes the Knockouts champion? That's one that I'm really waiting to see. Also, like I said, tensions keep on mounting when it comes to the Impact champion Christian Cage and Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander, has been proving time and time again why he is the athlete of now, why that man is on a roll, why he feels that he can succumb to any pressure and he be the man that can carry the weight of that company, why he's ready to be the Impact World Champion. And I can't wait to see that match as well. So that one is going to be, for all intents and purposes, that one's going to be historic. it will be historic for Bound for Glory. That I have no doubt. Um, the return of the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels. That was one that I had no idea that would ever happen. It took place last week when we never even had a chance to talk about it on the show, but I'm bringing it up now that way we don't forget about it. Um, he's back to his roots of where he became successful, even though he's been in other companies around the world. You know, we've seen him a little bit in WCW. We've seen him in the early stages of the Asylum in TNA. And of course, when TNA finally came into the landscape of nationwide exposure in on television networks, like when it came on Fox, Sportsnet, when it came into Spike TV, Daniels was there, and uh, he made a go of that opportunity to show the world why he is legit, why he is one of the best wrestlers in the world, um, why he is in the category of AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Frankie Kazarian, Consequences Creed, which is Xavier Woods, um, the Motor City Machine Guns. Those guys were the prime example of how successful TNA was at the time. You know, nothing with what Dixie Carter changed the game and decided it was all about her and stuff like that. And then now with Impact Wrestling, but you're seeing now there's still a few OGs around. Now you got Saban, now you got Daniels. I'm pretty sure there's other OGs that we mentioned before that are in the Taylor Wilde, of course, was an OG for TNA. And Eric Young. Eric Young is another one, and he's in that category of Styles, Daniels, and Joe and others. You know, because they were the ones that made TNA watchable and why it was successful at the time, nonetheless. But yeah, Impact had another great show. Those were some of the highlights that we wanted to bring out that were that caught our eye, and we're just waiting for Bound for Glory to take place. It'll be at the end of the month, nonetheless. And we can't wait to see what happens next week. So we're gonna get into Raw really quick, and then we're gonna talk about the draft. We're definitely gonna get in a little deeper with the draft and with what took place on Raw. On Raw, though, we will say that's another episode that they did pretty good. So it's still at the level of what we witnessed last week, and it was just another good show. But before we actually get into deeper with Raw, let's not forget about NXT, because we didn't talk about much of NXT either. We've seen B-Fab going up against Elektra Lopez, and obviously we should have seen the signs there. They did a pretty good match, even though it was a no DQ. They took it to such extreme that it was like, okay, this really was a deep rooted hip riveting type of physical match. So hats off to both of them. But even though Elektra did more damage than B-Fab, but like I said, the signs, we should have recognized the signs right there once she won the match. That obviously Hit Row was going to be ready to be chosen as one of the draftees to one of the primetime shows this week. And yes, we will miss Hit Row in NXT, because just when we were going to see the all-new NXT 2.0 and we got one of the premier groups besides Legado del Fantasma, Hit Row was another group that was already establishing there that they were the nonsense type of guys that, you want to step up to them, you will get knocked down. Also, we saw the aftermath of the wedding of Index. We were seeing the honeymoon, and that was just, comical stuff with the Gargano parents, of course, watching over them. It was just nuts. Um, believe this or not, after the controversy that we witnessed with the promo of Joe Gacy from 1 week ago, after WWE was suffering so much criticisms, they were actually taking that as a plus. So that's why they decided to continue with the character of Joe Gacy and everything that he's standing for about his ring being the safe haven for him. So that's his safe space, and they're gonna go with it literally. So I don't know if they're gonna go with it just verbally or physically, because like this past Tuesday he didn't have no match, but him doing his promo was just good, more than good enough for him to get over. So the more he gets into that type of tone and feel, and how he's got the audience at the palm of his hand with how he dictates himself, then that's when you know that John Gacy is ready to land and be a popular figure in NXT for sure. Um, love the promo that had to do with MSK, with the other tag teams involved, with Grizzled Young Veterans, with Ridge Holland and the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne, also with Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. You know, I call them the new APA in a way, because they're barroom brawlers. Maybe not as much as APA, but in their own version, they're somewhat similar, maybe more different than APA for sure. Um, a really good, decent tag team match as far as Io Shirai and Zoe Stark took on uh, Toxic Attraction, which was Gigi
Mm-hmm.
and
And JC Jane.
JC Jane. They did pretty good, but obviously, you know, Io Shirai and Zoe Stark, they were going to fight it out all the way through until we saw that they were the best team to keep and retain the women's NXT tag team belts. We didn't got to see Braun Breaker this week, unfortunately. We only got to see a promo of how he wanted a title shot. Tommaso Ciampa rebutted to that promo and say anytime that he wanted to step up, that he heard that challenge loud and clear. Boa finally redeemed himself in a match against Andre Chase. That's good. LA Knight and Odyssey Jones obviously got it on backstage, and that should be one that we should see really, really soon. Grayson Waller was impressive against Roderick Strong. Still, obviously, with the involvement of Diamond Mine, he still kept his NXT Cruiserweight Championship in that match. We got a really good um, debut of Lash Legend when she debuted her Lashing Out talk show segment. I thought it was pretty cool. Better than Happy Corbin's copycat of a talk show. So, Happy Boy, move out of the way. Lash Legend is the show to be watched. Finally, we get to see Tony D'Angelo, who says he's from Chicago, Illinois, who says his family makes a lot of moves because they got businesses here and there in the downtown area and the outskirts of the suburbs and everything that goes along with that. Now we're going to get to see him debut this upcoming week on NXT 2.0. Let's see how that goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kyle O'Reilly, Ridge Holland. That was a really, really good match. They took it to such physicality, man. It was just awesome. But I believe who kind of okay, I gotta say, finally we get to see the match of the NXT Women's title being defended as Raquel Gonzalez took on La Güera Loca, Frankie Monet. but I think it was just a little bit kind of toned down in a way. Uh, we could have seen more physically out of Frankie Monet, and that way Raquel can give an even deeper rooted response. But the match was what it was, and at the end, I didn't expect it anything less. Raquel Gonzalez still retained her NXT Women's title, but at the very end, Toxic Attraction came in and whooped on the women's champion like crazy. And obviously that showed at the very end that Mandy Rose's intentions are she is next to go after the women's championship. Now, the issue that I have with that is the fact that there's no build up. The only thing that you can do is just make a statement to say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to come after the title." But it's not a guarantee that there's going to be a title match for the next week, you know? It's like you want to get to that, then maybe you'll knock off whoever's number one contender or the person who's actually next in line to get a shot at that title. That would be the decent thing to do, but not even that. So we don't know what's in store for Raquel Gonzalez, as she is the big old target, and of course she's won all comers to get at her to also get a shot at the NXT 2.0 back with Raw. Like we mentioned, it was another decent episode, a very good one. Nonetheless, uh, we will jump to the fact that, of course, at the top of the show, it was Big E, Bobby Lashley, WWE title. Of course, it looked like Lashley was dominating the entire match. Big E was just taking and absorbing everything that Lashley has gotten. To our surprise, to some people, while others it's like, oh, that's no surprise. We were expecting this one way or another. The return of the Hurt Business. No MVP though. No MVP though, because obviously he's out hurt. It'll be months before we see him again. So you got Benjamin and you got Cedric Alexander on the outside, ready to do whatever Bobby Lashley asked them to do, and the New Day was not gonna have it. They were not gonna have it. So they came in, they interrupted the match, and Adam Pearce came out and said, "You know what? We're not gonna end it like this. It's a DQ, but you know what? Main event later tonight. Y'all two for the WWE Championship in a steel cage." And that's what ended up happening, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. We seen also a singles match with Eric from the Viking Raiders against Angel Garza, and since we're still Mr. La Hispanidad at that point, something told me that it was going to be Angel Garza having the upper hand. So obviously they're getting that opportunity to move up and to make make of that opportunity the best as possible. Reggie and Ricochet for the 24/7 title. It was the same old, even though Ricochet pulled out some moves to highlight some spots. That was decent. But of one beer cat or Bearcat, let me say that properly. Bearcat Keith Lee against Akira Tozawa. That was a match. I just hate that they have to give him a new gimmick, but they still let him keep his name Keith Lee. But at this point, it's like, okay. At this point, it doesn't matter anymore to me. What matters is he gets TV time. Doesn't matter how many people he squashes, at least he wins, And I expect the next match that he has for Raw next Monday, if he's on the card, for him to win it. And then for him to be seen even further. Don't just bring him in for 2 more weeks and then that's it. That's the whole Bearcat scheme. Screw that. I want to see Keith Lee have matches, win. Doesn't matter if it's squash matches. Doesn't matter if it's a 15-minute match. We just want to see this man progress. Okay? Gimmick or no gimmick, he is good. He is good. Whether babyface or heel, he's good. We want to see him progress. That's what matters to me. Damian Priest and Sheamus for the U.S. title. It was a very physical match. I'm impressed with both of those guys. Hats off to both of them. I was into that match so bad. It's like, dude, man, they are really packing wallops up in here with these two guys, man. They were just going all out. They were really going all out, man. And I love that match. Of course, Damian Priest still retained his championship. That was awesome. We've seen the 6-man tag, Hardy, Mansoor, Mustafa Ali. They took on Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shanky, and of course, Mahal's crew won the match. Riddle and AJ Styles. That was another match that really we were getting into from the middle of that match to the very end. My God, man, it was an incredible match with these guys. It was just freaking awesome. It was just so awesome to watch. Like, whoa, Charlotte Flair went against Doudrop. Of course, Eva Marie got into that match, and the spotlight had to be on her. Well, the spotlight was on her, all right. When the Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler, took her out. Thank you very much. That's for you, Shayna Baszler, because you did me a huge favor in taking this no good talented bitch out of television. Well, then again, I don't want to toot my own horn, for predicting such a blasphemy. But then again, she could come back on television, and this little Pepto-Bismol resumes her spotlight on TV. She should have been fired. Bottom line is she should have been fired. So, name. Now they have a name. The WWE Women's Tag Team Champions in the form of Super Brutality. And so imagine that. They'll be known as Super Brutality. Maybe the Mortal Kombat guys will come up with a Super Brutality of their own. You never know.
I'll be damned.
For MK12. That's a teaser. Maybe it could come true. They were just wondering, they hope that they don't get drafted, separately, that they will be drafted together. But we'll see how that goes for them. And then, of course, finally, Big E, Drew McIntyre, at the very end, once it was all said and done in the steel cage match with Bobby Lashley and Big E, Bobby Lashley resumed him being dominant in that match. Well, finally, Big E put in the moves, he put in the strength, and he made Lashley look like chump change at the very end of that match. It was an incredible match. When it looked like, yet again, Hurt Business was going to interfere, New Day came out and they beat the hell out of them again. And that was that. But nonetheless, Big E won the match. We seen Drew McIntyre come out. And what it looked like, maybe we were going to see the next contender for the WWE Championship. But now, let's jump into SmackDown. And let's jump into what took place this past Friday night. So, like we stated, from what we can recall, Friday Night SmackDown made the selections of the Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. They selected the Raw Women's Champion, Charlotte Flair. They selected the New Day.
What else?
They selected... Who else do you recall?
I remember they selected Happy Corbin and his new henchman, Madcap Moss.
Yeah, Madcap Moss. Everybody thought that it was said Madcat, but it's Madcap. Sounds like the name of a rapper that never made it to popularity. I still have evidence of that tape, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Under the RCA label. Tape that got into my hands from like what, 1995?
Mhm.
And it was just some demo. Yeah. Some lousy demo that never made it to the radio, but it made it into the hands of the public. I see you, Madcap. I see you. Hit Row, of course, got selected for SmackDown. Uh, who else was drafted to SmackDown?
Right now, that's all I could remember.
That's all you can remember. Well, we will get into this right now. Of course, I remember Naomi was drafted.
Yeah, Naomi. Yes.
Naomi was drafted. Um, and yeah, I remember that Sonya Deville was not pleased. Sonya Deville was not pleased with the way things happened. She just wasn't happy. It's like, oh, geez, I gotta deal with her. Like, I don't want to deal with her. I just don't want to deal with her. Like, damn it, you know. Um, so okay, so this is sucky. It only shows one part of the draft, but it doesn't say the rest. And I'm on the CBS website. Let me go into a different report. Let me see if it's not the same one. Oh, okay. I didn't read it properly. Okay, so for the first round, of course, SmackDown kept Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion. Raw kept Big E as its WWE Champion. Charlotte Flair, like we mentioned, was the Raw Women's Champion, selected on SmackDown. Bianca Belair is drafted to Raw. Drew McIntyre drafted to SmackDown. RK Bro kept on Raw as its Raw Tag Team Champions. New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods drafted a SmackDown. You got the New Day apart. Again. You kept the New Day apart. Again. We're seeing the New Day apart. Again. Okay. And Edge now drafted a Raw. Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss kept on SmackDown. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash kept on Raw. But in this case, since they're the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, they can go anywhere. They could go Raw or they can go SmackDown as long as they're champions. Hit Row from NXT 2.0 got drafted to SmackDown. Keith Bearcat Lee kept on Raw. Naomi kept on SmackDown. Like I said, Sonya Deville is not pleased. Rey and Dominic Mysterio drafted a Raw. Jeff Hardy drafted a SmackDown. And from NXT 2.0 and leaving the Gargano nest, Austin Theory comes back to Raw, actually. He comes back to Raw. He never was drafted. He left Raw to go back to NXT. He lasted there for a number of months, and now he's coming back to Raw in a whole new way, hopefully. So that is the list of the first half of the draft that took place. So these are the rules, of course. For the picks, it's 2 picks for each brand per brand. Teams, groups, factions count as 1 pick, but teams can be split up. As far as free agents are concerned, all undrafted superstars can sign with either brand if they haven't been selected once the draft is over. The number 1 overall pick was SmackDown, and that was the Universal Champion Roman Reigns. So now we move on to what took place on SmackDown as well. Um, of course, we witnessed that Roman Reigns and the Bloodline came to the show. They were there, of course, and they were there doing their promo in the ring. And to Roman's surprise, he got to see the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. And boy, that he stood face to face with the Tribal Chief yet again. And what we expected was the decimation of the Usos at the hands of one Brock Lesnar. And of course, Roman on the outside having to witness everything yet again and having to leave. That's your Tribal Chief for you, right? Of course, we also witness. I want to go. I want to go to audio with this one because this one, I believe, Seth Rollins really took the cake with this one. He really took the cake with this promo. Just when he wanted Edge's answer for Seth being responsible of what happens to Edge for him finally retiring in front of his wife and kids and such not and whatnot. Now, the fact is that Edge is on SmackDown, at SmackDown. Seth Rollins is at the Copeland household. Like, what the hell? And I knew he was going to be at Edge's house. Something told me by the look of the background that he was going to be at Edge's house. It's like, it looks like deja vu all over again because, like, I've seen this before. But nonetheless, let's get into this, man, because this to me was obviously powerful stuff. Let's listen in.
I got to admit, I'm impressed, man. You said that you'd be at SmackDown this week, and what do you know? There you are in the center of the ring. Just a couple of problems, though. One small one. You're not really saying the things that I need you to say. You know, you're not announcing your retirement. You're not telling the world that I am not Edge Light, and you're not answering my challenge. But the bigger problem is that when you said you were going to be at SmackDown this week, I tend not to believe a single word that comes out of your mouth ever. And so I didn't believe you. You're a liar. Plain and simple. And I'm not. See, I'm an honest man. So unfortunately, the big problem is that I'm not at SmackDown this week. I am, in fact, stop it! Let's see. Beth! No. The door's unlocked. Oh, no. Beth! Uncle Sandy is here. Oh, man. I know you live out in the middle of nowhere, but lock your doors, man. What is wrong with you? What a house! I am starving. What are you gonna do? Okay. All right, Lil OJ. I need something healthy. He's doing a Cribs episode at Edge's house. An apple a day, of course. Don't want to be rude, though, so. Eat at the table like a civilized human being. He's putting his feet on the table. You know, this place was hard to find. I appreciate that. Oh, that is some good stuff. That is. No. That's the girls. That's the girls' artwork, huh? I mean, I know they're young, but that's rotten. That is rotten. That is truly awful. They do not have a future in art. That is for sure.
Safe electricity, at least, on his way out of the B&E we're witnessing.
How cute is that? That is adorable. My goodness. You're a lucky man, Edge. A lucky, lucky man. What? No. No. Oh, my dude, that is amazing. What a beautiful family. Oh, daughters are gorgeous. Oh, thank God they look like meth, right?
The nerve of this guy.
Oh, this is luxurious, my friend. What is this?
I'm sure that's how you're supposed
Just
to
go, Joe. Sit on this too. Oh, all right. Go fireplace action. You are a lucky man, my friend.
Does that treat books right there?
This is the homiest home I've ever been in my entire life. It's so cozy. I could stay here all night. I could stay here all night. I could stay here all night.
My goodness. That's just nuts. Wow. That is just crazy, man. I mean, you know, what we just witnessed was obviously shades of what the old rated R superstar would have done if he would still be in the trenches today going up against anybody else. But yeah, we're definitely seeing shades of the old rated R superstar in Seth Rollins. He's using those same tactics like what Edge would have done back in the heydays, you know? And obviously Edge witnessed that. He got psyched out. And from we saw his response, it's obviously, you know, like are you guys like he called Beth, obviously he's like, you guys are home? Like you guys are home? Okay, well then don't go home. Don't go home. Seth is there. They said they were gonna get somebody, two guys. I don't know if they were
Yeah.
neighbors or whatnot. What they would have done is call the police first. You got an intruder in your house. Don't just bring in anybody that you don't know that can obviously do damage to the house or whatever. But then again, I guess in real life, you know, if you call cops, then things could get messy, and you know, then you can. Chances are you may use the house as a crime scene, and then you won't be able to get back in your house until maybe a number of days or whatnot. So yeah, it could get messy nonetheless. But still, that segment right there was just obviously, you know, something enticing, something powerful. And Seth Rollins is just he keeps, you know, taking that character of his, which I call the Joker character, you know, to a whole other level. It's really raising, and it's property and good for Seth Rollins nonetheless. Um, Brock Lesnar did a backstage segment. Words of, you know, for crediting Paul Heyman for his free agent status at that time. And it was a good one too. He finally spoke, you know, said some words. Also the fact that also a 6-man tag match took place. No, it was an 8-man tag. I'm sorry. Street Profits, the New Day, Alpha Academy, and the Hungry Dirty Dogs. It was a really good match with all 8 of them, and how hyped up the Profits and the New Day were together. It was just another really cool element to see, and we can't wait um, to see more stuff of theirs and all of that. But it was a really crazy show. That was one half of the draft that took place, and now can't wait for the rest to happen even more further coming up for next week. So until then, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to cut it off right here. We appreciate you joining us. This is the last episode of the finals of the first season of the Wrestling Weekend Recap. Until then, the one and only Jade, I am Aceman. We will see you next Saturday as we're locked in for the 10 o'clock hour Central Time for another edition in the new season of the Wrestling Weekend Recap. We appreciate you guys for joining us and for watching this video. Until then, have a good weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week.